We are less than 3 weeks away from the primary election. And with Congressman John James in the race for governor, his seat in Michigan's 10th congressional district is wide open. One of the candidates for the seat, Robert Lugerai, dropped out of the race on Tuesday. So that leaves 3 Republican candidates in the primary race: Michael Bouchard Jr., Stephen Demetropoulos, and Justin Kirk. We are joined today in the studio by Justin Kirk. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, Shana. Happy to be here.
Yeah, so for those who don't know you, you are a Clinton resident, a practicing attorney, lifelong Macomb County resident. Tell me what you think you bring to the table that your opponents in this race do not.
Sure. Well, I think you hit the highlights there. I've been involved in politics as early as I could be. I was a precinct delegate almost as soon as I could be. I was in college Republicans at the University of Michigan, undergrad. I was on the board of the Federalist Society at Michigan State College of Law. I've worked in Washington, D.C. I've been an attorney, a corporate attorney, my day job, since my professional career began. So I've seen Washington on the inside, and I've seen some politicians who care more about chasing cameras than representing their district. And I've seen what good representation looks like. But I've also seen in working with small businesses here what the consequences of those decisions in Washington, what they look like for our small businesses, our workers, our families here. So I can get to work immediately in Washington on day one to work for the people of the 10th district, because that's what they need. They need somebody there who's going to get to work immediately. We have 2 years left of President Trump's term, and we need to do everything we can to work hard for the people of the district. They come first.
So if you're elected and you're getting to work immediately, what is the single biggest issue facing District 10 that you think you could really make some movements on?
Well, I think there's a lot of issues. One of my main priorities has to be Selfridge Air National Guard Base and the Defense Corridor in Warren and Sterling Heights. I mean, Selfridge employs 6,000 people on the base, 30,000 statewide, almost $1 billion economic impact to the state, which is huge. We have the Defense Corridor in Warren and Sterling, which have a ton of small businesses, large businesses, great manufacturing base. That's what our district is, majority manufacturing. And so I think that's important, is to focus on them. Really important in Michigan, 96% of all businesses are small businesses with under 50 employees. That right there is the lifeblood of your economy. Any federal regulation, taxes, hurts them more than it hurts the large businesses. So those are the companies that build in your community. They hire in your community. They expand in your community. We have to make their lives easier, because that helps everybody. A rising tide lifts all boats. That's a priority. Getting rid of government waste. In 2024, Medicare and Medicaid admitted to making $85 billion in improper payments. That's just what they admitted to. That's more than the entire state budget of Michigan. And we've seen some stories, even if you're not a Republican, that look fairly dubious as far as other waste and fraud in the government. We need to get that out. That's money that's stolen right out of our pockets, and as a fiscal conservative, that physically pains me. Also, the economy. This is a heavy manufacturing district. We need jobs. That's defense jobs. We need to focus on bringing more manufacturing jobs, like I said, defense jobs. That has to be key. I think President Trump has been focused on the American worker, and I'm very proud of the work he's done on that. And then lastly, fighting some of these social contagions, DEI issues. I think people should succeed on their merit, and somebody shouldn't be a victim because of lose a job or other opportunity because of DEI-related reasons. So those are the things I'll be focused on.
Something I'm sure President Trump would agree with you on. You've been a very vocal supporter of President Trump. He endorsed Michael Bouchard in this race. So what is your plan to appeal to Trump's base, when he has a hand-picked candidate, and also to the other voters, because District 10 is a purple district at the end of the day?
It is. But I think there's a lot of good to run on with President Trump. I know he endorsed my opponent. I don't agree with that decision, obviously, but I still support the president, and I'd love to work with him, happy to work with him on day one. And one thing about my primary opponent is he missed 72% of all statewide elections since he was eligible to vote. That includes 3 times where he didn't vote for President Trump, and he missed votes where his own father was on the ballot. If we can't trust
somebody... He was actively serving in the military.
He was active in the military. Now, if you look at average voting rates in the military, they're about 45%, even higher for officers. He was an officer. I respect his military service. I don't want to denigrate that at all. I think I have to make that very clear. But that doesn't mean you don't do your civic duty of voting. And voting 5 of 18 times in statewide elections, including missing elections, or your father's on the ballot. I think that tells us a lot about what you'll do once you get into office. I have a near perfect voting record. I cared about these issues since I was able to vote. I think that's the difference, is that people can trust that I will show up for them, take votes, and do my civic duty, as I have done and as I have a track record of doing.
Do you think you'd be willing and able to work across the aisle in Washington to get a bill passed?
Well, I think you have to. I think, to get a bill passed, unless it's something, naming a post office. You'll need to get consensus on an idea, but that doesn't mean you compromise your principles, because those went out at the end. That's why people elect you, is because they're voting for your principles. I have conservative principles. I believe in hard work, personal responsibility, fiscal conservatism, conservative social principles. So I think if you can reach a consensus with those on the other side, absolutely. But that doesn't mean you compromise. You reach a consensus and stay with those principles.
Okay, Justin Kirk, thank you so much for joining us in studio today. Our conversations with the candidates will continue leading up to primary day. You can find all of our previous interviews on cbsdetroit.com.